Hi guys, welcome back aboard good old Athena for yet another episode of fixing broken stuff in remote places. We are currently in Barbuda, probably the most remote feeling island in the Caribbean. Of course, now that we're somewhere remote without access to boat parts, our 12-volt house battery decided to call it quits and died last night. But thanks to all of the redundancy I built in, it was actually not a big deal. If you're new here, we're Ava and Mess. I spent 7 years on a somewhat extensive refit of our 1987 Trident Warrior sailboat named Athena. It was an oh glorious sanding extravaganza. We left Denmark and started cruising full-time, sailing down Europe's west coast, and then we had our biggest adventure yet, crossing the Atlantic. Now we're sanding and sailing our way around the world. This right here is the offending battery. While laying in the V-berth last night, right before falling asleep, I noticed that the RPM of our fans in there was going up and down. My initial thought was it's gotta be some kind of voltage fluctuation, possibly caused by a loose connection, and not wanting to go to sleep with a potentially undiagnosed fire hazard on the boat, I grabbed my trusty multimeter and set to work. With said trusty meter, I measured between 10 and 13 volts just fluctuating up and down. I traced that all the way back to the battery in our technical compartment. Right in there. Now it is a little bit messy in there. I need to do some cable management, so yeah, don't judge me too harshly. The battery was very warm to the touch, and as soon as I disconnected the DC-DC charger and measured voltage, I could see that the battery was sitting at basically 10 volts. Batteries, as so many other things, they like to die. It's kind of in their nature. But I think I've had this battery for about 6 years, so it's not really surprising that it's chosen to kick the bucket. But when I designed Athena's electrical system, I built in a lot of redundancy, and that really paid off last night because all I had to do was to disconnect the offending battery, and then our DC-DC charger supplied us with 12 volts throughout the night. This is a simplified diagram of our electrical systems. This right here, the 12-volt house battery, was the offending battery that's died. So this DC-DC charger here supplied us with 12 volts throughout the night. This morning, all I did was just to swap in our 12-volt backup starter battery here for our 12-volt house battery. That temporary setup will easily get us to the next island over the next week or two. There's absolutely no rush. And when we get there, I know there is a boat parts pusher there, and I'm sure he has a new house battery we can buy. But we have plenty more redundancy built in here. I did that because our only way of charging our 12-volt batteries is through either DC-DC chargers or AC-DC chargers. Normally our backup starter battery down here is connected to an AC-DC charger, and there are no loads connected to this battery. It's just a completely fresh battery waiting around in case we need it. Each of the batteries up here, the house and the starter battery, has their own DC-DC charger. If one of these DC-DC chargers die, it's easy to swap over to the other one because they're located right next to each other. If both of them die, then we can switch to the AC-DC charger, or if our entire 24-volt DC system dies, so these no longer are charging, well, then we still have the option of using the AC-DC charger through, for instance, the genset, if it is working. You can see the same principle of redundancy in our 24-volt system here. We have the high output alternator. If that dies, then we have the solar panels. If those die, then we have the genset, provided it's working. And if the lithium battery dies and any one of these sources is still working, well, then the 24-volt DC system will still be working. Why have the 12-volt house battery in the first place? Why not just run everything off of a DC-DC charger? Well, you could totally do that, but I really like having the 12-volt battery there as a sort of a buffer. In case the DC-DC charger fails, we'll get a low voltage alarm, but there'll still be plenty of time for us to figure out what's wrong and swap in one of the other DC-DC chargers. I should mention that all of these chargers are dimensioned so that they're big enough to cover all of our needs without any of the batteries. Why not use a lithium battery for the 12-volt house battery? Well, for a couple of reasons. For one, all of our high draw consumers are on the 24-volt side, not the 12-volt side. In fact, all we have on the 12-volt side is one of our 3 chart plotters, nav lights, VHF radio, a few other like safety related items, and that's about it. But also I like the reliability of old-fashioned lead. There's no BMS that can go sideways, and for something that's safety related, well, it just makes a lot of sense, at least in my mind. Our 12 volt system is there because certain things you can only get in 12 volt versions. Like for instance, our VHF radio, we couldn't get that in a 24 volt version, so hence we have the 12 volt version. But also the 12 volt system is designed to be a backup that can keep us safely sailing in case the entire 24 volt system just collapses. So yeah, that's another bit of redundancy. Some people like to give me a bit of flack for adding too many electronic doohickeys here aboard Athena, and that is a choice that comes down 100% to personal taste. You're free to do whatever you want to do, but if you, like me, like suckling off of the sweet teat of electronical luxury, well, then something like redundancy is certainly worth mulling over. It should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody that I really like boatwork, be it fiberglass, composites, or plumbing, or electrical, you name it. I really enjoy digging into the theory and figuring out good solutions that'll work well for us. I think that is a lot of fun, and I'm excited to announce the next step in my boatworks journey, because in a little over a month I have signed up for the ABYC Marine Electrical Certification course. If you're not familiar with the ABYC, it is the American Boat and Yachting Council. They are an awesome organization that work to improve the safety in boating. The ABYC is akin to what the ISO standard is in Europe, but in certain ways much better, but that's a story for another time. The ABYC puts out this hefty bit of nighttime reading, lovingly nicknamed as the Standard. If you've ever woken up, bathed in sweat, wondering how many terminals can I safely put on a terminal stud, well, all you have to do is flip open the Standard, and no more than 4 terminals shall be secured to any one terminal stud. Phew, night terrors avoided. But all kidding aside, as a software developer, I really enjoy a good rigorous bit of standardization. It brings a lot of joy to my heart to have a nice solid framework like this to work with, to give guidance. I'm going to start out with the Marine Electrical Certification because I think that's going to give me the most bang for the buck, and I'm really excited to bring Athena up to the ABYC standard, because right now she's wired to the MATS standard, and my allowed number of studs on a terminal stud is slightly higher than 4, so there's definitely going to be a bit of rework there. But they also have other cool certifications, like for instance the corrosion one. I think that's going to be really fascinating too. But yeah, let's start with the electrical one. I think because our next boat refit is going to happen most likely in the US, it makes a lot of sense to get into the ABYC stuff. And also, maybe, who knows, I can spin up a little side business at some point doing some boat work. That would be fun. But yeah, if you are considering any kind of career in boat work related stuff, I would highly recommend that you check out the ABYC website. I'll include a link down in the description. Enough yammering on, let's get on with the day.
Yep, because even though we're basically in paradise, there are still chores to do. And even though a lot of people give mess a hard time for all the electronics, I for one am greatly benefiting from them, especially my favorite one of all, the washer and dryer. My sweet, 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 precious little babies. And actually we have not used the dryer since we left like colder climates, pretty much since we left Europe, but we do use the washer a lot. Real quick, I just want to show you my new favorite doohickey that I brought back to the boat the last time we went to the US, and that mess thought was going to be silly, but it has proved itself over and over again already, and it's this little like retention doohickey to keep the washer door open. I'm sure this is something you can relate to at home too if you have a washing machine, that if you keep the door closed, and I think especially on a boat, it starts to get mildewy and like stuff starts to grow inside, and it drove me crazy because I was always cleaning it out and it always had like this funky smell. So I found this on Amazon, and it just magnetizes to the washer, and then you can bend it whichever way fits your door, and it keeps it propped open perfectly so you can get an airflow, and even when we're sailing, it doesn't budge, and I love it.
Well, this has put me in a bit of an awkward situation. I just said that the amount of electronics on your boat is your personal choice, and whatever you want to do, you should do. If Ava wants to have a useless door opener thing, she should do that.
Not useless. what I have to deal with. Everybody thinks Mess is a perfect little angel.
Yeah, but this banter is made slightly more difficult by the fact that we only have one wireless mic right now. So,
but it's nice because we each get our turn to talk. We did the first 2 loads yesterday, and as the weather goes, we checked it. We were like, no rain, perfect. We can hang everything up on the line to dry. And of course, as soon as we put everything up, it just started raining, like probably one of the hardest rains that we've seen here in the Caribbean.
Well, this is certainly boat life for you. Ava's got the laundry all ready to shove in the machine in there. I just thought I'd just check the water to see how we're doing, and we're at 0%, so... Whoopsie. Unfortunately, it is at least partly cloudy today, which that's not really good for the solar panels. So we might have to use the high output alternator just to give us a bit of a boost in terms of the battery charge. Please excuse the infernal combustion rumbling in the background, but we're now making plenty of delicious energy and we've got enough water to at least start the washing machine.
All that's left today are towels, and we have just a little recommendation. We have these Turkish towels and they're great. They're really lightweight and they dry really quick. We love them. Last night before we went to bed, we were like, all right, we're gonna wake up, we're gonna blow up our new kayak we got, we're gonna go to the beach, check things out. It's just gonna be like an explore day, and then of course the 12-volt battery is dead. We gotta do another load of laundry, so we're almost there. We're almost to the exploring.
Despite that little annoying detour, the laundry is finally done and busy drying.
Yeah, and it's only been out here for less than an hour and it's pretty much completely dry.
Yeah, so we're almost ready to jump in the kayak, but before we do that, we got a message from another boat when we pulled into the anchorage.
Yep, and they have some kids, so we're gonna dinghy over there and bring them some octomads to say hello.
And we're not gonna bring the camera over there because we haven't asked if it's okay to shove a camera in their face, so we're just going over there to say hello. Neighborly duties done. The kids seemed very excited. Now this is the new inflatable kayak. This is the absolute cheapest one from Decathlon. I don't know if it's any good, but yeah, I think we'll get more use out of this than the stand-up paddleboard we had. We've sold that because we never really used it. I hope this is gonna see more use. We bought this electric fancy pump with the paddleboard. We opted to keep this just because it takes up less room than one of the manual pumps. The obvious downside is it's super freaking loud. That's one side inflated. Now onto the other side. Ta-da! One inflated kayak and the kayaker.
Woohoo! I'm really excited about the kayak because I feel like it's going to give me a little bit of autonomy. I don't love bringing the dinghy up onto the beach by myself, and it's actually like a little bit tricky. We don't have dinghy wheels. I feel like maybe if we had dinghy wheels, that would make a little bit of a difference. But with the kayak, I think it's going to be super easy for me to just head to the beach and pull it right up.
The kayak is a one-person model, only capable of carrying around 100 kilograms worth of human. Seeing as it's Ava's new vehicle, I figured it'd only be fair that she get to take it for the first paddle, and then I could just swim to shore. The kayak has 3 tiny fins on the bottom of the hull, but it does seem like it's not super directionally stable. After playing around a bit, Ava seemed to get the hang of it and quickly zoomed past me, leaving her poor husband to fend for himself. After much guilt tripping, I finally got her persuaded to give me a lift towards the shore. Dragging me slowed her down a lot, and as I was enjoying my free ride, I noticed that the bottom was getting closer and closer. That gave me an evil idea. After much continued protesting from Ava that I was slowing her down, we finally reached the shallow water where I could stand on the bottom and hold the kayak perfectly still. Are we there yet? Why are you not paddling?
Are you holding me back? Is that what you're doing?
What is marriage but a license to relentlessly annoy the bejesus out of your one true love?
We made it to the beach. Mads did not drown and I did not flip, so that's always good. And Mads is already swimming. And Athena is back there somewhere. And apparently this is supposed to be a pink sand beach, and I feel like you can just like see the pink a little bit when the tide goes out. But yeah, it's so beautiful and the sand is so soft. The first thing I noticed when we got onto the beach, I was just like, oh my God, the sand is so incredibly soft. Just gonna go for a walk down the beach. It is a massive beach. It just goes on and on and on. So we're just gonna go for a little walk, see what we can find.
Yeah, the beach is nice except for it's full of sand, which sand is super yucky. It's not like sanding dust at all.
We just found a bunch of this pink sand and it's actually not sand. It's these teeny tiny pink shells. I love them. From what we've heard from other cruisers, the island took a big hit during the hurricane in 2017. Was that Irma?
Yeah,
I can't remember right now, but yeah, there's a bunch of abandoned buildings throughout the island, and there's actually...
Yeah, there's a big abandoned building right on the beach, not too far from where we're anchored. And we just heard some of the other cruisers talk about that there might be wild dogs there. So I don't think you should go there, but at the same time, it would be very interesting. Safely back on the boat and free of yucky sand, I managed to cobble together a couple of old mics, so now we both have mics again.
Yep, now I can speak freely.
Well, now we can both speak at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. But I think next week we're gonna go check out the Frigate Bird Sanctuary, do a little bird watching,
Yep.
and then maybe go check out the rest of the island too, and maybe see what happened with the aftermath of Hurricane Irma.
Yep. And also, I think next week would be a great time for me to service our dive compressor, so we might be able to go do a bit of diving here. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But, yeah, I think we're going to have a pretty dang spiffy time here. And on that cheerful note, we'll end this week's video here. We hope to see all you guys back here aboard Athena next week for yet more cruising fun. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video,
Please remember to leave a like.
see you!
Pew, 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 pew.
Indeed.
All right, bedtime.
Bedtime.